When I look back on the summer that forever changed the way I understood friendship, loyalty, and even family, one memory always stands out. It was the day I walked into my best friend's house and heard his mom say a line that has never left me. "Let's just pretend you're helping me." At first, it sounded strange, almost out of place. But the story behind those words shaped me deeply. It taught me about hidden battles, about empathy, and about how the smallest act of kindness can reach deeper than we realize. My name is David, and I grew up in a quiet neighborhood in Ohio. Since middle school, my closest friend had been Josh. We were practically inseparable, playing basketball in his driveway until nightfall, pulling all-nighters on video games, and sharing our wild dreams for the future. His house had become my second home, and his family welcomed me like I was one of their own. But things began to feel different during our junior year of high school. Josh's mom, Mrs. Carter, though she always insisted we call her Susan, had always been one of those warm, attentive mothers. She remembered your favorite snacks, asked about your day, and genuinely listened. But lately, her smile seemed heavier. It no longer reached her eyes. She looked worn down, like she was carrying something invisible yet unbearably heavy. Josh's dad, Mr. Carter, was gone most of the time, working long hours and traveling for business. Susan worked part-time at a local clinic, but most of the responsibility, managing the house, raising Josh and his younger sister Emily, and keeping everything together, fell entirely on her shoulders. One Saturday, Josh and I were working on a school project at his place. We needed some supplies from the garage, so he went to get them. But as teenagers do, he got distracted when a friend called him out for a quick basketball game. With a wave, he told me, "I'll be back in 10. While waiting, I wandered into the kitchen. There, I found Susan standing precariously on a stool, struggling to pull down a heavy box of dishes from the top shelf. She looked like she was about to lose her balance. Instinctively, I rushed forward and caught the box before it slipped. She exhaled in relief and brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Oh, thank you, David. I don't know what I would have done if those had fallen." I set the box down and said, "You should have called me. I was right here." That's when her expression softened, and she murmured quietly, almost as though she wasn't talking to me at all, "Let's just say you're helping me." I blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" I asked. But she quickly laughed it off, shaking her head. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just talking to myself. Thanks for the help." Still, the way she said it stuck with me. There was weight in those words, something she wasn't ready to explain. That night, I stayed over like I often did. Restless, I went to the kitchen for a glass of water. That's when I heard it, soft, muffled sobs. Susan was sitting at the table, her head in her hands. Bills were spread out before her, and through her tears I heard her whisper, "I don't know how I'm going to do this." I froze, unsure if I should interrupt. But I couldn't just walk away. Quietly, I stepped closer and asked, "Mrs. Carter, are you okay?" She quickly wiped her eyes and forced a smile. "Oh, David, I didn't hear you." "I'm fine, honey. Just tired." But she wasn't fine. The exhaustion was written all over her face. For the first time, she let someone else see the weight she carried. That night, she confided in me, something she hadn't even shared with Josh. Their family was struggling. Mr. Carter's endless business trips weren't glamorous. They were desperate attempts to hold on to his job. They were behind on mortgage payments. Emily's asthma treatments had piled up medical bills. And Susan felt like she was carrying everything alone. "I don't want Josh or Emily to know," she said softly. "They're just kids. They should be able to live their lives without this weight." Then she looked at me and added, "So earlier when you helped me with the dishes, it wasn't really about the dishes. It reminded me that sometimes when you're drowning, someone shows up. That's why I said I'd pretend you were just helping. In that moment, you reminded me I wasn't completely alone." I sat across from her, speechless. Until that night, I had never considered that adults could be scared, tired, or uncertain. Parents always seemed like they had everything figured out. But here was Susan, strong, dependable Susan, overwhelmed and afraid. I told her, "You don't have to pretend with me. I might just be a kid, but if you ever need help, I'm here." She smiled through her tears. That means more than you know. From that day forward, I started helping around their house more. Sometimes it was small things, mowing the lawn, fixing a leaky faucet, tutoring Emily in math. Other times it was simply listening when Susan needed to talk. She never made me feel like I was taking on her burdens. She would just smile and say, "Thanks for helping." Eventually Josh noticed. "Man, you've basically become part of the family," he joked. "Mom says you're her second son now." What he didn't know was that I was learning lessons that would stay with me for life, that people often hide their struggles behind a smile. That real strength sometimes comes from admitting vulnerability. And that kindness isn't always about fixing problems. Sometimes it's simply about being present. Over time, things got better for the Carters. Mr. Carter found a stable job. The bills became manageable. Susan began to look lighter, freer, like she could finally breathe again. Years later, just before I left for college, Susan hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you for being there when I needed someone." I'll never forget it. Neither will I. Because that summer wasn't just about my best friend's mom. It was about how life sometimes places us exactly where we need to be to carry each other's burdens, even if only for a little while. And sometimes, what seems like just helping can actually change someone's whole world.